So apparently, Donald Trump's new crime crackdown, it isn't even about, crime. It's actually about black people. Like, who knew? Well, at least that's what the Reverend Al Sharpton, the apostle of anarchy and the patron saint of race baiting, this is what he wants you to believe. So, according to him, Donald Trump is targeting black folks simply because he's sending in the feds to clean up the streets in these Democrat-run cities. And these cities, you guys, are drowning in violence. But here's the real question. Why are these cities drowning in the first place? Like, why are they all just falling apart in trash? Well, the spoiler alert is that it's not because Trump's just picking on the poor little blacks, okay? That's not it. It is because black Democrat leaders are running their own cities into the ground. I know that's not an angle that y'all wanted to hear, but it's the truth, and so we're going to talk about it. So let's get into it. Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I am your host, April Chapman, and on today's show, we need to deal with the Reverend Al Sharpton and his race baiting circus yet again. Y'all, take a look at this clip.
It's got a lot talking about how I've condemned a lot of what was going on in Chicago back in the day and other points. It's not about crime. But when you have this consistent pattern that you're only going after black mayors, now you're going to fight West more. I mean, the pattern here is clear, particularly when the data shows that crime is down in these cities.
People can't walk down the street again. If somebody walks down the street, let's talk about crime stats really quickly before we wrap this up. And by the way, Ron DeSantis blamed Donald Trump blamed Joe Biden in 2020 for shortchanging Florida in the 2020 census. But if their kid can't walk down the street without somebody coming up screaming in their face, that won't be recorded as a crime. It's unfortunately, it's a poor man or a woman that has mental health difficulties that are living out on the streets.
That's why the services that were cut in the Republican bill are very needed.
Yeah, they're needed, of course, which we've been saying now for 2 days. Yeah, and so they're very needed. So, but still, your child comes home and says there was a guy or a woman that was screaming at me at the top of my lungs. I got scared and then I ran and da. Like, there's no sense of security there. And that's what, again, Democrats need to get their arms around that and stop saying everything's fine.
You have to address the feeling of not being secure. I grew up in Brownsville, East Flatbush, Brooklyn. We had 3 locks on the door and a bar against the door. And I'm out there marching, but we wanted to be safe. What the Democrats ought to be saying is, yes, crime has been a problem. We've successfully done this, but we need more help. We're glad you want to weigh in, Mr. President, so we can not only cut it down to where we need to cut it down more. Bringing untrained National Guardsmen that do not understand this is not the way to do it. Help us get more trained police that have done community policing, because that's what's worked, because you're absolutely right. We've got to deal with crime. Do the Muhammad Ali strategy, rope-a-dope. Lean against the rope, take the blows, and say, now, come on now, let's do this together. And he will not know how to answer that.
So Sharpton says that Trump is targeting blacks with his crime crackdown. But here's the elephant in the room that nobody in the liberal media ever wants to talk about. First of all, we need to ask, why is it that almost every major city that Trump is stepping into is run by black Democrats? Not conservatives, not Republicans, not even independents, black Democrats. And if we're going to be honest, which is what we do over on this platform, if there is a city run by a black conservative, I need you to show it to me. Where is it? Because from my understanding, it doesn't exist. And if it did, you better believe that it would not look like the crime-ridden sanctuary city dumpster fires that we see in Chicago and Baltimore, Philly, New York, Atlanta, so forth and so on. But here's the thing. Why is that? Why is it that if a black conservative ran a major city, it would not look or function like a Democrat-run city? Well, the answer is very simple. Let me help you out. What you don't know, or maybe you should by now know, is that conservatives believe in law and order, right? It's just like the basics. It's not hard. But if you play stupid games, you will win stupid prizes. Conservatives are not interested in controlling every aspect of your life. They're going to maintain law and order, but we actually want to get the heck out of your way so that you can thrive. Personal responsibility and freedom, or should we say liberty, is on the top of our list. And that means things like school choice, things like the Second Amendment. If a school is failing, we're going to open up the market for competition, because if that school cannot cut it, we'll either overhaul it or shut it down. No excuses. And as it relates to the Second Amendment, many of these cities are held captive because criminals have guns, but the people who live there are not able to arm themselves. The Democrat Party has done an amazing, masterful job of stigmatizing firearms. But here's the thing. If you are feeling threatened and if you feel unsafe, what is the best thing that you can do while you're waiting for the law and order and for the police to come? If you were armed, I can guarantee you, Taquayshawn gonna think twice about carjacking you, okay, or kicking in your door, or causing you any harm, because if the propensity of you being armed is high, he's gonna think twice before he gets froggy and decides to jump. When a conservative is in charge, that also means that there's no sanctuary city nonsense. So conservatives are America First patriots, okay? So if you're not a citizen, we're not gonna roll out the red carpet for you at the expense of Americans. The resources which we garner from taxpayers are going to the citizens. They're not going to go to illegals. We're not going to take care of criminals or protect and shield criminals from accountability. That's just not what we do. And also, unlike Democrats, we don't tax you to death with nothing to show for it. So Democrats are basically an organized crime syndicate. They get into power, they steal from their own people, and then they make promises that they never intend to keep, right? They're always doing studies about reparations and dangling the little carrot to keep you dependent and ideologically chained to their party. But the biggest difference is that a conservative-run city, it would create a place where families actually thrive. See, the secret is Democrats can't even define what a woman is, let alone define a healthy nuclear family. And we all know that communities thrive when the family thrives. So when spaces are created for families to win, and we're not incentivizing baby mama culture, thought culture, and the like, cities and communities tend to do well. But this is what we've just seen from Al Sharpton. This is classic Al Sharpton. He's always ready to whip out the race card, even when the facts don't support it. He is a liar and the truth is not in him. And so because he's of his father, the devil, he's always going to spin a narrative, even if the facts don't support it. Donald Trump is not targeting Black people, okay? He's actually targeting crime. And the problem is that crime is out of control in these cities that are run by Black Democrats. That is not the conclusion that we come to. What that is called accountability. DEI has set up an environment where these Black Democrats are not used to being held accountable. They've held power in perpetuity, and now that someone is holding them accountable, the first thing they want to do is cry racism. They want to pull out the race card. But here's what they don't want to admit. They don't want to admit that Trump is the only leader who has had the courage to step in and to protect Black Americans from the criminals in their own neighborhoods. I mean, can we? Round of applause on that. That is not hate. That is love, and that is something that should be celebrated. It's what leadership actually looks like. Now, while Democrats sit back and watch the Black community be torn apart, Donald Trump is the one saying enough is enough. These people deserve safety too. So now I want you to take a look at this clip.
Okay,
Watch my top drawer.
But anytime
Listen,
that is a
I
priority.
bet you took a car service here. I bet you get chauffeured around. When was the last time you were on the subway? When was the last time you were in Brownsville, Bed-Stuy, East
Let
New
me
York?
tell you, my friend, you have no idea about my life.
Okay, so when was the last time you were on the New York City subway? Tell us.
Last week.
Hang on just 1 second, Arthur.
I did, but can I just say?
Did y'all catch that? Did y'all catch that? This colored communist had the nerve, the audacity to sit on national television and to claim that she feels safe. Because, you know, she takes the train all the time and she feels safe. Her life never feels threatened. Is this the argument that people in these war zones actually believe? Like, does she want us to believe that the people who live in these communities and in these municipalities actually feel safe? Really? Miss Cross, tell that to the mother who can't let her child play outside because there's this risk of a stray bullet or being schmecks trafficked on the horizon. I know I don't even live in the hood, and I don't like having my children, my girls, play outside because we've had incidences of young girls just disappearing, and the next thing we know, they've been trafficked. That is actually happening. I need Tiffany to tell that to the family who can't even walk to the grocery store without being robbed, right? Like, this is the worst. This isn't love. This is the worst kind of hatred. These pro-blackity blacks get on my nerves because these individuals that I say represent the Afrostocracy, they love lying to people's faces and then they call it compassion. When it's really contempt, it's hatred, it's the elite disdain masquerading as love. These people don't care about black people. They just like to sit on TV and pontificate about loving black people. Here's why this whole Al Sharpton, Tiffany Cross narrative falls apart. Donald Trump is not targeting skin color. He's actually targeting bad performance, period. And that's something the DEI proponents, they don't like. If DEI really worked the way that they say it does, which is measuring outcomes regardless of ethnic expression, then guess what? By their own standards, Black Democrat leadership is failing miserably. Why? Crime is up. The schools are absolutely failing. Kids can't read. They cannot do math. Businesses are fleeing because of the crime. And the only thing that seems to thrive in Democrat-run cities is corruption and chaos, and lots of it. But Trump, he's measuring by outcomes. He's like, listen, I don't give a darn who is in charge. If your city is trash, you need to fix it. And by stepping in, Donald Trump is the one who's proving that he's the one that actually cares about all Americans, including the black ones. In fact, I would wager to say that Donald Trump is the only one taking drastic measures to keep them safe from the very predators that Democrats coddle. Because please believe they coddle the criminals. Democrats have this one-track mind. All they see is power. They don't care who they hurt. They don't care who they disenfranchise. If power is up for grabs, they will grab it. And Donald Trump has a different track. He has a different objective in mind, and it is preservation. He loves this country and he loves it enough to do the hard things that others won't. So he'll take the bullets. He'll like, you know what, call me racist. I don't care. We're cleaning up these cities. He's cleaning up the cities, and the Democrats, not only does it make them look bad, but it's forcing them to admit that they really don't care about outcomes anyway. All they care about is power. They're actually trying to shield themselves from criticism by alleging that Donald Trump is doing this on the basis of racism. Now, the Bible says in Romans 13 that governing authorities, they're supposed to be a terror to the bad conduct, not a blessing to it. But in a Democrat-run city, it's the opposite. This is how you know it's demonic in nature. The wicked are the ones that are rewarded, and the law-abiding citizens, they are the ones that are punished. So when Donald Trump steps in, he's actually fulfilling the God-given role of government, doing what government is supposed to do, which is to restrain evil. That is not oppression. That's called order and justice, love of neighbor. So no, Al Sharp Tongue, Donald Trump is not targeting black people. You know that's not true. I know it's not true, and I'm calling you out for it because he's actually targeting all your buddies, right? Those black Democrats who've turned once thriving cities into these crime-infested wastelands. These places are horrible. You want to talk about racism? The real racism is when you tell black Americans that they should settle for failure and chaos and corruption because at least the leaders look like them. So we are sick of living under your tyranny of bondage, Al Sharpton, and we are sounding the alarm. I am calling out your weak, ignorant arguments because they do not withstand any measure of legitimate scrutiny. Al Sharpton is a Democrat tool, just an old, ultra-perm wearing psyop that is causing more damage to the black community than good. He's not helping us. He never has and he never will. Donald Trump loves this country and he loves it enough to take the hits. He will do the hard work, make the hard decisions, and clean up what these Democrats have destroyed. That is not white supremacy. That's called leadership. So take your accusations and you can go on and sit down somewhere and go get your roots touched up. And until someone can show me a city run by black conservatives that looks like a Chicago or Philly or Baltimore, we all know exactly where the blame really lies. But I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? I mean, these Marxist-minded, melanated Negroes, they have overused and ran this racism argument down into the ground. But I am curious to know, is there anyone out there that actually believes Al Sharpton's point of view? Like, do you think he has a valid argument? Like, really, is Donald Trump targeting these cities because they are run by blacks? Or is he targeting them because of their results and they just so happen to be run by blacks? What you have to understand, the blacks that are running these cities all have the same worldview. So he can't be doing it because of race. It's the worldview and the ideology that undergirds their leadership style. But I do want to hear from you guys. Whatever side of the argument you're on, I want you to join me in the comments, sound off, and let me know your thoughts. Do not forget, follow me and come and support me over on Patreon. I would love to talk about a lot of other things, but YouTube is just not very friendly to a lot of the topics that I want to talk about. So join me over on Patreon. The link is down in the description box below. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.